Oh! Wow. How's life going? Can I get a welcome to the jungle? TDN Panda. Welcome to the jungle, buddy. Vaush Vid. The Vaush Pit.
Recent data from eHarmony's 2025 dating diaries found that 28% of Gen Z singles said differing political views could cause them to turn down a date, compared with 21% of millennials. For eHarmony, too. This is like boomer. So what Gen Zers are using eHarmony? An October poll from the New York Times and Siena College poll showed a striking 51-point gender divide among Gen Z voters. Women aged 18 to 29 favored former Vice President Kamala Harris over President Donald Trump by 38 points, while men in the same group favored Trump by 13 points. No other generation exhibits a gap this wide.
Wait, this is old. 15 hours ago. Okay.
Sheesh. Sheesh. I don't want to give women credit because they're annoying, but, you know, seems like they're out here trying to save civilization. Gen Z plus eHarmony equals sugar babies. You think so? I'm 100% convinced the falling birth rates are caused by plastic pollution. Nah, it genuinely, it seems like the main cause of the falling birth rates is just that people used to be more bored than they are now. And that's it. People are less bored, there's more stuff to do, and also the expectations for raising a child are a lot higher. I mean, birth rates have fallen literally everywhere. It doesn't even seem to be that much determined by politics. They've fallen in Saudi Arabia, you know? Is birth rates falling bad? Yeah. I mean, if you want, like, society to be stable, you want to eventually hold it at a more or less consistent population, give or take. Isn't that like a developed countries thing? Yeah, but the birth rate is falling everywhere. Everywhere. Hot countries, cold countries, poor countries, wealthy countries, countries with a lot of provisions for like maternity leave and like the government gives you a care package or whatever, countries where those things don't happen, everywhere, all across the board. I think a lot of it is just capital kind of like forcing people to optimize every second of their life.
Birth control for sure. No, people always want to fuck, but now we have birth control. I think this is something I said before. I don't know how you would, I don't like what logical argument you would deploy here, but like, if evolution provided you with a tool to reproduce, but you found a way to utilize the tool without reproduction, people, can get into a weird world where they think we're wired to reproduce, but we're not actually evolutionarily wired to reproduce. We're more wired to use the tool being sex or orgasms, right? So if women can have sex without birth control, and if men can just, bang with birth control, whatever. Gotta say women with birth control. Then you're in kind of a weird world because there's a lot of people on the planet that assume that, oh, like women and men are naturally gravitating towards making families and doing all of that. When in reality, it might be that life now offers a lot of stuff to do that is more than just fucking and having kids. And that might be a large competitive, a lot of competitive pressure on things that didn't used to have competitive pressure on them.
Where they fall behind. A lot of it is also like, social and cultural standards about child rearing are shifting more towards individual care, which is really, really difficult for parents. And also it's them dang video games. Like, why raise a kid when you can spend your entire life having fun? Women having rights? Yeah, but again, they're dropping in Saudi Arabia too. They're dropping in like sub-Saharan Africa, right? They're dropping in places where women's rights are not exactly great. And plus the availability of birth control, it just seems like if people are gonna no matter what. And if people have the ability to not have a kid, I think most people are just gonna choose that. If you gave birth control, like made it ubiquitous 600 years ago, I bet you there would have been a lot less children. Isn't it better for the climate if there are less people on Earth? Is it really so bad there are 8 billion people on the planet? I wouldn't mind the global population dropping to like 6 billion. Okay, but think long term. The replacement rate isn't, or the birth rate isn't dropping because we're reaching a cap. It's dropping because of other conditions. It's not going to drop to 6 billion, you stupid bitch.
Whoa.
It's going to drop to 0.
We got a B word.
If you have a below
we got
replacement
a B word coming out
rate,
real early.
eventually the population drops to none. That's it's not tapering down as we approach a cap, it's tapering down, period. It keeps going down. Like, that's the implication of the data isn't that we're gonna level off at 6 billion humans. It's that the human population just goes down irreparably. Can we get it below 0? This is not a safe space for antinatalists. I'll have you warned. You've been warned. Don't get banned. People who celebrate the death of the human civilization when they get banned for 30 days from Vaush's chat. No! It's not fair! No! Sorry. I feel like antinatalism is a very reactionary tendency. I agree. It's like a subset of misanthropy. And misanthropy is like stupid edgelord bullshit that I...
Isn't it misanthropy? No. Misanthropic. Misanthropy.
I don't respect. You should really just add NL's I can't emote. No getting around the accusations, huh? What would be a reasonable solution now? I don't know. Have all the birthing being done by like
women birth slaves,
mothers, like as a job. You try to reach some kind of quota for different districts or
birth slave. Yes.
You I don't know, mandates or something.
Mandates, dates for men. Yes.
It seems like all the answers are pretty scary, but you know, maybe it could be like a tour of service kind of thing, right? Like, if nobody wants to have or raise kids on their own, it's like, well, rather than serving in the military for 4 years, you actually get, like, bread. Which a lot of you would volunteer for without pay, to be fair. So I don't want to hear any complaining. You know, the breeding camps was a Nazi thing, right? Can you not be dumb?
There are some weird, like, outer perimeter moral issues where, in my opinion, so I would be considered a moral anti-realist because my brain is so huge. I think that morality is kind of an abstracted thing from a bunch of human preferences, yada yada bullshit. I think one issue you run into, if you're of my disposition, is that there's a lot of kind of human morality that we all believe is some fundamental law of the universe, but in reality it's just kind of like a convenient way that our lives are put together. And when you start testing the boundaries of some of that stuff, it's a very unsatisfying, I guess, adventure to go on. So one thing that we don't really have to think about ever, we've never really thought about it ever, is like, do we have an obligation to make enough humans to further humanity? Like, people are always fucking, people are always making kids. We don't really have to think about that. We've never thought about that before. And the answer to that question would kind of be really terrifying. Like, what does it mean to have an obligation to make children? But again, we've never thought about it before. But if we hit an area where we have to start to think about it, there's a bunch of really weird questions that very quickly take you down a bunch of very uncomfortable pathways. Like, you know, do we start forcing, you know, men and women to have kids? Do we start forcing people, or like making birth control illegal? Or, you know, what does that look like if we can't incentivize? And then even basic questions like, what obligation does an individual have to the human race? Like, is somebody selfish for not having a child because they're not fulfilling their mandate to replenish the population of the planet? I don't know. Like, it's very weird.
Please. When the pro-natalist camp talks about raising birth rates, they are talking about white people. They want a white ethnostate to raise white birth rates. I'm just talking about the general trend of birth rates declining. I don't give a shit if we're black, brown, white. And I don't think there should be, like, coercion to it either. I think that for a lot of people who are born with a womb, if you were like...
wombing people.
Yeah, you'll get like a really cushy job basically, and for 2 years you literally just have to like sit around and eat enough food to sustain yourself and the fetus. This is literally no different than what the Trump regime is proposing with their medals for mother shit. I mean, it is different.
Medals
in
for
a variety of ways. Like the fact that I'm not talking about conforming to the typical parental structure, but rather doing it as a kind of civic service, which really cuts away, like, it's pretty anti-fascist, because fascists protect the family unit as a like micro-chauvinist emblem of state power, and I'm talking more about it being like a civil service thing. But you know, I mean, whatever, go off, king or queen or whatever. I don't care about pronouns basically because I'm woker than you. I don't think having children should be a civic service. Okay, Okay. That's fine. That's fine. So if the birth rates are falling and nobody's having kids and the population's decreasing and it just keeps going down and keeps going down,
What do you do?
what would you do? What would you suggest to fix that? It
would still be consensual. No, like both partners would have basic moral cleanly and fitness level parity based on whatever brackets, and people in those brackets might just breed for society. The problem, and nobody really wants to address this because the people that are super pro having kids believe that humans love children and will always have children. And on the other side, they don't give a fuck about trying to get more people to have kids. So the weird world you're in is you have to start asking questions of what does it mean to make a choice, okay? It feels like we need a very abstract philosophy interpreter, but not really. Like, what does it mean to make a choice? So if I tell you that, hey, you can go to the store and you can either get candy bars or you can get healthy food, and you're like, okay, fine. Like, you have the freedom to make that choice. And then you go to the store and all the candy bars are $7 million each, and all the healthy food, is like $5 a package. Well, I mean, like, you can make a choice kind of, but how much of a choice are you actually making? Leftists engage in this kind of analysis of capitalism all the time. But I mean, like, you can analyze anything in life this way. Even basic things like when I talk about, like choices you have in childhood. I think I've brought up the example a few times of like dealing drugs. Like if you come from a decent neighborhood, you're not a drug dealer, not because you're a good person, but because you don't even know how that works. Like, where would you even get access? Like, growing up, I don't even know what I would have to do to become a drug dealer. I don't know what the fuck I would talk to or how I would find a Tuco or whatever the fuck. So like if you start heavily incentivizing some people to have kids, that means that you're doing it with what? Economic incentives. So what does that mean? You're taxing some people who aren't having kids and then giving money to other people who are. Like, are people really making free choice? Like, it gets into a really weird, just forcing people to have kids or replenishing the human race is just not a question that I think we talk about very much. And it just gets into very, very weird territory if you want to actually look at this problem critically, I think.
Stabilize, genius. You have literally no reason to believe that. The birth rate is falling even in Iceland, a country with like 5 people. There's no evidence to suggest that the birth rate will stabilize. For some reason humans will just be like, yeah, I want to have kids now because the country they live in has 40% fewer people. Like,
somebody donated and just said that. I've done no research, but I tend to think people have kids when they think they can take care of them, i.e. at least having a place to live. That's that's necessary but not sufficient. Like, you have to feel like you're in a good place in your life to have kids. That's a necessary thing, but just because you have that doesn't mean you're gonna have any. Like, you could just not give a fuck, right? I mean, like, you can even look at society today and the way that it's structured to know that is absolutely true. The wealthiest people in society don't have the most kids, and they're the most suitable to have kids, right? And the people who are generally the least wealthy in society, like yo mama, are having tons of kids. So, I mean, that doesn't seem to be the thing that's causing, people to have kids. That's just like a necessary thing generally before people choose to have them.
There's no evidence of that.
It could be a cultural incentive. You can do it. I think cultural incentives, actually do work, but it has to be a really strong cultural incentive. And in the West, we don't have that. The only country that I know of, the only culture I know of that's able to do that, I think that I've ever seen able to do that, are the Israelis in the West Bank. For some reason, they're like the only people who are like, all right, motherfuckers, we got to make babies for Israel. Let's go. And it's the only culture I've ever seen on the entire planet and in all of history. If somebody can link birth rates somewhere else, I'd be curious to see it. But it's the only culture I've ever seen that's able to do that.
Parental leave, tax credit, free healthcare, and childcare. What else can you do?
Like, if you look at Israel, birth rate, they're at like 3.0 or something, weren't they? 2.9 children per woman. It is easily the highest, exceeding the OECD average of 1.7.
They have that in a bunch of European countries. Birth rates plummeted. Make it easier to raise kids. Oh,
holy shit. What if the reason why they have so many kids is because of the conspiracy theory that all the pedophiles run to Israel as soon as they get caught in other countries, and those guys are wanting to fuck? I'm just kidding. In a video game, guys.
Okay, sure. But like, wealthy people are also having fewer kids. So it doesn't seem like it's a wealth thing.
What's the principal reason why? I can only guess based on what I know about Israel. I haven't like studied it in depth, but if I had to guess, the guess is that like Israel is just that perfect mixture of nationalism plus culture plus religion. Like all three of these are working together to give you a pretty strong drive to populate, you know, for the success of your people, for your country, and for your religion, right?
Or a time thing. Or like countries where people get lots of state offered provisions, you know, lots and lots and lots of stuff from the government to have kids, still not really moving the needle that much. Then what is it? I don't know. Nobody knows. It really does seem like people would just rather play dang video games. Like the
He's saying video games, and I'm sure he's like kind of like half memeing or you know, whatever. But it's not really just video games, right? It's just like life offers a lot more today than it ever used to offer. There's a ton of different things you could do in life now that you just never could before.
evolutionary incentive to having children is that it feels good when you...
Fuck me. This motherfucker still watches my stream, or he just inherited these takes from me. Yeah, he's getting to it.
Right? But now that we can, without having kids is a choice. And it's a choice a lot of people
don't want to make. Yeah, because
in Poland, you literally get paid monthly for each child you're raising at the moment, and it's not helping. Yeah. The antinatalists are still rearing up. Don't make your misanthropy my problem, mother. The people are still doing it. There are still people in chat being like, here's my novel solution to the birth rate collapse. We let the only sentient species in the universe that we've seen black holes, we've measured the speed of light, we've produced art and culture, the likes of which might be unrivaled in all the cosmos. Let's let it die out because we don't want to talk about the basic logistics demographic question. You're not welcome here. Ooh. Yeah, like if you hate yourself and you want to die, don't make that my problem. Okay, I've got an actual solution, okay? Genetic engineering. And we make babies less stupid.
You're doing a longer stream for the Canadian elections? You're not that invested? I probably will, since I started late, and fuck my life, why not?
But annoying. Like, what if the first, 3 to 4 years of a baby's life were sped up, basically? So you didn't have that awful, parenthood is never sleeping and wiping their butts 24/7, period, you know?
Okay, I know every baby is different. So far be it from me to tell any other parents anything. But I guess I feel like kids get a bad rap for a lot of different age classes that they don't deserve to. I personally, and maybe this is just my mom did daycare and I spent so many times around babies and stuff, but I mean, it was true for Nathan too. I feel like there's this ugly alien baby stage that I would say lasts until, I don't know what, 6 months at the most. But I feel like from 6 months to 18 months, when they've got their fat little chubby arms and their legs and they're kicking and they laugh all the time and their eyes get all big when they look at you, and I feel like babies at that age are really adorable, and hopefully they're past their super crying and irritated stage at all points in time. I don't know, I feel like Vaush is shitting on babies for too wide of an age gap. All right, till 4 years old. I'm also a little biased because I think Nathan was 5 when he started turning me down for hugs. Excuse me? And then before that, if you just open your arms, they come fucking running to you when they're I don't know, 5 and younger or 4 and younger. And then at 5 or 6, you're like, come here. And they're like, ah, and they run away. Okay. Maybe that's because they're forming memories at that point. Like Denim said, he remembers all the abuse.
What if they were pogged up to the gills a little bit when they came out? You know what I mean?
Pogged up to the gills?
You have a kid and it's oh, don't worry. In 6 weeks, they'll be making their own meals. Bam. Pretty good, right? That's why babies should be raised by the state instead. Well, I mean, I don't necessarily have an issue with the idea of community child rearing. Raised by the state kind of implies a doctrinal approach towards that I disagree with, you know? But if you mean public school from day one or something, or they're taken care of in nurseries or whatever, we've done that for all of human history, yeah. Kids' parents die, they're in an orphanage, they're in a nunnery, they're in a nursery, you know, they get raised by the school. Yeah, if you could really beef that up, right, and make it oh wow, you know, you're a little kid, look at all this wonderful shit you get to enjoy and explore, because a huge portion of society and the wealth of society.
I'm sorry, Nick's Magician. I know that what alt history is kind of cringe, but his breakdown of the uniquely evil roles of Hitler's Nazi movement was broken down extremely well at Destiny. If you don't want to watch the video because you're still on your World War II history journey, that's fine, but consider watching that and having a convo with his. He actually seems to read books and know things. Rare in this time to do pussy. I love you and I appreciate you. However, I've talked with him enough and listened to him enough that I don't think I could trust anything this guy says about anything ever. I'm so sorry. Isn't this kind of a male-focused view of having kids? I feel like it's more typical of women that they do have an urge to have children, or maybe not. It's really hard to say, obviously, 'cause I'm not a woman, so I haven't felt it. But like people will talk about like the baby urges that you get at around 30. But it's also hard to know if that's like a grass is greener urge. Like you see other women having kids and then you haven't, you're like, fuck, did I fuck up? Also, there's like a weird bias here, and I'm the only parent on this fucking planet that will be honest about this. There's a weird bias that once you have a kid, you're kind of bought in, and you can't even really think about like, would my life have been better without a kid? Because now that the kid exists, it's like, oof, even considering that feels like you're a shitty, horrible human being. But like, there's some things to legitimately think about there too. So you have a fork in the road where when you go down one path, you can't even consider the other side. But when you go down the other path, you can easily consider the other side. So that also leads to a bias. Like you're not going to find very many parents that want to say, fuck, my life would have been objectively better if I would have not had a child, or if I would have waited a long time to have a child, you know?
Society is directed towards making, you know, this a good experience for you. That could be workable, you know? Yeah, no, that quality of life for the kid would be hellish though. I don't think that's necessarily innately true. I don't think that's innately true. I don't think there's anything special about the nuclear family that like magically makes that a better child rearing environment than like being raised by the village or whatever, the way we did for you know, a long time. But obviously it'd have to be done well. But it's the same with nuclear family.
At Dustin, you fucking retard. I know he falls into that archetype, but his video about how fucked Hitler was is actually really good. I know he's cringe, but even cringe motherfuckers make a shit. No, it's not about that he falls into an archetype. It's that I've seen him say like legitimately, insanely incorrect and terrible, horrible shit, which makes it hard for me to trust anything he says. Like anything I would get from him, I would have to fact check. I wouldn't trust anything just given.
Families. Like what happens if you're a kid and you're born to shitty parents? That happens literally all the time to like billions of people, you know? Like nuclear family.
Wait. Vaush used to be Destiny community to a huge fallout in ideology, and also Vaush not defending Destiny from his community, doxing, harassing Destiny. I don't know if Vaush's community ever doxed me. I don't know if that's the case. Also, I don't usually claim people who harass me. I don't even know what the fuck harassment means. That's kind of cringe. The thing that was irritating me was his roommate / girlfriend was literally posting videos and shit on Twitter. She was the one that posted that huge Rittenhouse thing, and the community was like trying to get me my YouTube and shit banned from everything. That's usually a big red line. Where it's like, hold on, you're trying to get my shit banned? Hello? But I don't think Vaush's community was ever like doxing me or anything like that. Example, I'll start watching anything from him if you have solid reasons. No, bro, I don't have... Dude, it's been so long. I don't even remember what our last fights were about. Listen, you don't have to believe me. I'm not saying don't ever watch or whatever. I'm just saying that I remember this from in the past. I don't know if we were arguing... And when I say we, I mean like there was a whole community of people arguing with them over if it was like SJW-related stuff or something, but...
Family defenders, when posed that question, don't think about it. Okay. It happens all the time, but okay. Yeah, sorry, loser. Should have been born to good parents. Why is it called the nuclear family? Because the term came about in the atomic age. It was like the meant to be it, along with like suburban development, the white picket fence, to...
It's kind of weird that there are a whole bunch of ages that at least I personally still associate with kind of like futurism or like the future, but that are just old. Like the space age was like the mid to late 20th century, 1900s. Like the space age is very old, the nuclear age is very old, but they still sound like kind of futuristic if you think about it, you know?
2 parents, 2.5 children, a dog. Like it came about during the atomic...
Didn't they try to get you banned? Yeah, they tried to get me banned, but I don't think they ever tried to dox me or anything like that.
Okay.
And I don't know if I'd say they harassed me. I don't know, I just don't like the term harassment. I just feel like it's so vague and people... I don't know if I ever said that about them. Maybe I did, but...
It's like in the new nuclear world, this is what a family looks like. Maybe just communal childcare? Yeah. Live births per woman. Man, look at that. That is crazy. Live births per woman, and the range of the chart is 1.6 to 1.2. Like nice. The chart's range doesn't even reach replacement rate. That's not good. No, it's not. It's not good at all, actually. It's actually like really bad. Still not as bad as Korea. Well, Korea is literally the worst in the entire world. So, yeah. Korea is below 1. This might make housing prices better. Well,
Okay, at some point, housing has to improve a lot because a bunch of old people die, right? That is going to happen at some point, right? That must be the case that at some point that happens, right? At Destiny, so you're bullshitting of no actual basis. I know he's a dumb conservative ideas, but can't poke any holes in his history and knowledge. Are you afraid of him, lol? Why are you? I don't understand. You watch me so much. Like, I see you in chat all the time. Is that, if that's your opinion of me, I don't, okay, yes, that is, I actually have absolutely no reason whatsoever to not like or trust his takes. I don't have any reason whatsoever. It's literally just an emotional feeling that I have because I'm afraid of him, I guess, or I'm afraid of a challenging conversation. You got me. Yes, that is correct. Good job.
it's kind of crazy though, huh? France is doing the best because we all know they love romance. Italy's cratered, Spain's cratered, Greece is cratered, Poland is cratered. Vaush, countries that are good to live in have close to replacement rates. No, they don't. Look at Sweden and Finland and shit.
Yeah, why would you say that?
These
That's
are
not even
countries that
remotely
have
true.
literally like the best social
Safety nets.
provisions, the best
not helping.
like childcare assistance. France isn't even at replacement level. Like, no. What's Russia look like? Not good. Is 2 replacement level?
Chad has a fertility rate of 5. Well, all the African countries are decent on replacement, but those have all been falling as well, right?
Like 2.05 when you account for kids dying or whatever. France has a higher birth.
I just want to know why you're being such a baby about it. Just say, no, I don't have a reason. You don't need a solid reason for everything. I don't need a solid reason for everything. If I didn't want to watch it, I would say, no, I don't want to watch it. But I remember in the past him arguing about certain things, and I felt like his takes were dog shit, and he was politically insanely compromised. Like he was on a huge reactionary against the left kind of bullshit phase or whatever. And when I see people like fall into that and then start making weird claims, I don't remember what was being argued at the time. It makes me not trust their other takes. I'm not sure. Maybe he might have good videos. It might be a really good take on Nazi whatever stuff. It might be. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that it wouldn't be worth it for me to watch right now because whatever I would see from him, I would have to go and fact check on my own. So why wouldn't I just do the research myself? That's what I'm saying.
Right, because they get immigrants from sub-Saharan and North Africa. That's true. Keep in mind,
Who are you
like,
talking about? That the alt history guy, the what is alt history guy.
a lot of the reason these numbers are as high as they are is because of immigrants from countries where they still have
True.
a higher birth rate. You know? Well, we're not talking about population increase, Skynet. We're talking about fertility rate. So this isn't affected by immigration. Is an immigration the solution or something? Well, no,
Immigration is a band-aid.
because because the birth rate's dropping in the countries with the higher birth rates as well. We have the 4-day work week. That's good. Israel is the only developed nation with a high birth rate. Yeah, but even that's tapering off.
What video? When? With this one, was Churchill a villain?
It's funny.
Off. I mean, Israel's still in its infancy, so it's not like
Elon is good at grifting, but not at everything else. Maybe y'all were just chatting about one of his mediocre fields. No, I wouldn't trust Elon's take on literally anything either. After everything I've seen from him, Elon couldn't give me a take on anything that I would trust anymore.
they haven't really like leveled off from their big, you know, colonizer boom. The nuclear family refers to the nuclear structure of the family, treating the parents as a nucleus. Okay, well, I like my explanation better, personally.
Base.
Saudi Arabia fertility rate from 2005 to 2016. In only 11 years, they went from 3.4 to 2.5? Jesus Christ. It's not even a woman's rights thing.
Just, listen, I'm not here to simp for Saudi Arabia, okay, a glorious American ally in the Middle East. But I'm pretty sure Saudi Arabian women are not like being, you know, murdered and killed and flogged and, I'm pretty sure they do okay there compared to, I would say compared to most Middle Eastern countries. But I'm pretty sure I think in most Middle Eastern countries, women do okay now. Like not maybe in like the African ones, but I'm pretty sure like in, not in Afghanistan, but I'm pretty sure like in Syria, I think they were okay. Pretty sure like in, like Jordan, I think Egypt, probably like Tunisia, Morocco, I think. I don't know. We should look up. Listen, they started letting women drive, okay? a few years ago in Saudi Arabia, so they're doing fine over there.
You're looking at death? No, you're looking at births per woman. It's the plastic, yo. Dude, it's not the plastic. It's not the This isn't happening because a bunch of people are infertile. If you want to have a kid, you can breed someone. It's not the plastic. It's not. It's just not. It's not a bunch of people like raw dogging and then they're like, well, no baby, even though I keep coming in you unprotected. Well, like that's not what it is.
I'm a Saudi woman and it's getting better, but we're still far from Western women. Yeah, no shit, you're far from Western women. It's thousands of miles away. Like, the distance is never going to get closer. What is wrong? Jesus.
You're not you're not engaging with the reality of the situation. Are sperm counts not falling? Yeah, they are, but people, that's still not why this is happening. Isn't there a spoonful of microplastics in our body? What if it formed an internal condom or something?
Why is Kickstream getting blurry like every 5 seconds for a few seconds? That's called your alcoholism, Pete, okay? Put the booze down. Is it actually, or?
That's right. Every time you come, all the sperm's getting caught by like a little condom at the end of the vas deferens. Are we going to shoot down theories all day with lol no? Yeah, if they're wrong.
Oh!
Yes.
Boss
I'm telling
fighting
you,
with his
the reason
audience.
people aren't having kids
Hell
is because
yeah.
there's other shit to do. That's it. It's that simple. For all of human history, wretched poor people who had work to do all day, backbreaking nonstop labor, still had lots and lots of kids. And the reason why is because having kids wasn't a choice. There was no protection, not really. So eventually, you were going to have kids. There wasn't really a choice involved.
Based.
Now there is a choice, and also, we have better things to do. But you just said the cool countries with amazing worker rights are plummeting too, so what's the solution? What would worker rights have to do with what I just said? It's not like, what I'm saying, it's totally independent of, there is nothing the government can give you that would make a
woman fuck you.
from being an enormous drain
Just
on
kidding.
your time and money.
Just kidding.
It's
Just
simply
kidding.
not possible. It's not possible. You could subsidize every single thing children need, and it wouldn't change the fact that once you have a kid, your life is about that kid. There's other shit to do now, man. There's like Elden Ring Night Rain is coming out soon.
True.
Are you gonna have a kid? I've got like 7,000 watching right now.
Aww.
It's just a tough subject. No need to run from it. God, look at the Saudi Arabia. Look at that, man. From 1960, 7.6 children per woman. All the way down to 2.39.
Bum, bum, bum.
Hypocritical much?
Ooh,
How is that hypocritical? of me to make a joke
damn,
about you guys
Vaush's
being my
audience
kids,
is going
which was a
hard.
joke, by the way, don't get any ideas. Amish fertility rate is growing? Yeah, of course it is. Because their lives suck, they have nothing else to do, and they don't use condoms.
Damn.
They fix the problem. Aren't we overpopulated, though? Nah, not really.
The problem is Vaush's audience, you keep hearing that come up, is running into kind of a weird ideological error because there's this kind of, I would say gross, but maybe gross is an exaggeration, but there's this kind of like weird lefty thing where they don't just hate like America. It also feels like they kind of just like hate humans. So you get into this weird like, oh, depopulation of the planet, good. Less humans is healthier for the environment. It's healthier for the planet. First of all, it's not healthy for the environment, okay? The environment is normatively neutral, all right? We can have comets crash into the planet, still have an environment. When we really talk about having a good environment for the planet, by the way, we're talking about having a good environment for human beings to live in. That's all we really care about. Because the planet will carry on literally no matter the fuck what. All right? George Carlin, one of the few times he used soy rants, and I actually agree with him on that.
If it's an S curve, isn't there actually a good chance the trend levels off? No, because it's still going down in developed countries, and it's already not rounded off below replacement rate. It's still going down, and it's trending negative, and it's already below 2. So what do we do then?
2?
Oh, I've already answered this. Why do people get so weird about this stuff? It's an obvious, objective topic of discussion. It's not
It's
an immediate
obvious that
problem.
my hands
it's not
are
gonna
cold.
blow the world up tomorrow. Why does but it's a
People get mad because people bad, humans bad, therefore we should celebrate when there are less of them.
fact. Listen, I'm sorry this discourse has largely been hijacked by white supremacists who want to who fantasize about rebuilding Hyperborea so they can have their
How does Vaush know about Hyperborea? What? What the fuck? Hyperborea, my Nazi Vaush. Hello, friend.
18-year-old virginal white trad wife wearing a sundress or whatever. Like, I understand that the discourse has been tainted, okay? You know that because you watched it from me!
Why do you know? I had a close friendship with a wonderful friend once. I'm not going to tell you who it was, but their initials were LS. And one of the things I learned in chatting with this person about things is Nazis have weird, like, symbol occult. Nazis just love a bunch of weird symbolism, occulty stuff. Like, just like so much of it. And the Hyperboreans were apparently one of those things.
In fact, Vaush, aren't you aware that, like, fertility rate discourse is dominated by neo-Nazis? Yes, I'm aware! Idiot! Jesus, where do you know I know that. It's just a logistics problem. It's probably solvable.
She didn't do it over such a
Yeah,
sphere?
we're just about
no,
reaching
she doesn't know a lot about it.
Below replacement
be her
rate in the
sphere.
global average. Right here, 2023, live births per woman, 2.25. Vaush, I don't think you realize that the population is going up. I am shocked that you know how to use a computer with the IQ that you have. The birth
Population is going up, but I think if you remember growing up, we used to always hear about overpopulation and how the planet would be destroyed. And I'm pretty sure now, I don't remember where we heard this. I don't know if it was some TED Talk or something we listened to, but I'm pretty sure now people think that like the 11th billionth human will never be born, that the population just won't reach that level because we'll have already, I guess, skewed off our population growth by then.
rate declining doesn't mean the population is declining. The birth rate declining means the rate of the population's increase is declining, which means that it will eventually decline. I've never heard anyone in politics talk about this except for right-wing or fash types. Leftists will not pick up on this stuff here. The thing that bothers me, I guess, is the fact that this is like an objective problem. It's a...
Don't ask your nice friends about Vril or the Spear of Destiny. Oh, did you know, I don't know why I got tuned into some dude's channel who covers Harry Potter lore, that the Elder Wand was also called the Wand of Destiny? I didn't know that. How crazy is that, huh?
So the fact that this is a problem is not ideological. Mass population decline is already an issue in places like Korea and Japan, and will be a major problem objectively, just in terms of resource allocation, the economy, so on. It's not an ideological problem, it's a real one. And it definitely is a little weird that a bunch of lefties, when confronted with it, will defensively respond with like, well, I think that it would be okay if the human civilization dies out and the one light in the cosmos is extinguished and the one unique flower of sentience in an otherwise cold and barren cosmos was you know, just removed from existence. Like, you sound like a demon. Why are you doing that? I don't understand. If you don't want to exist, don't make that my problem. I don't understand why that's like a default. Like, I get it. You're performatively like indicating that you don't agree with the white supremacists who disingenuously advocate for this, because white supremacists don't actually care about stuff that preserves like the human species. They love shit that destroys it. Like, they're not opposed to climate change. They don't stop war. They're not humanitarian. We know they're lying. I'm not. So why don't we like talk normally? I don't get it. Why the whole like, well, actually, I don't think that life is good. My political position on life is akin to that of Satan. So what about that,
Poor
Nazi?
Vaush. Poor Vaush.
I have no respect for you antinatalists. I hope you know that.
Ooh.
Jesus.
Ooh.
Gosh, no one is saying that, lol. I have personally banned multiple people saying that and then refrained from banning other people who have said that. Is life net good or net bad? You don't understand. There is no net good or net bad without life.
True. Yes, true.
You don't even...
So crazy. Let's make moral arguments about anything in a universe where humans don't exist? What does that even mean? What?
Get the metric without life. How long did it take for fertility to fall from more than 6 children per woman to fewer than 3 children per woman? United Kingdom, Poland, USA, Greece, China, and Iran. God damn. This is veering into debate bro territory. Uvis, I don't understand why you're being annoying. You think I don't recognize you? You think I don't know what you've been up to? Debate bro territory? What are you talking about? I'm just talking. Uvis is a Disco Elysium dev. So you're saying that if I permanently ban them, they'll have more time to work on the sequel? Don't convince me. Seems like most of the world had the birth rate crater in the 90s. What was going on? For a lot of countries,
Pokemon came out.
Industrialization, access to birth control, big social upheaval, you know? Big change. Yeah. 1910 for UK, but 1996 for Iran, 1978 for China. Skinny pants. Yeah, maybe. So everyone in favor of genetically modifying babies so they pop out kind of like self-sufficient? We're all good with that?
Okay, Nick's Magician. You could have said that in the beginning, and I would have been warmer to your point, okay? By the way, alt history was like 19 when you first spoke. He's now slightly less retarded, 24 years old. I have more comments with the right words for actual interesting conversation. Sure, I didn't know he was only 19 when we first spoke. I assumed he was like 30, okay? If that's true that he was that young, then that would have been a good thing to say. Like, oh, he was a young dipshit. It's like, oh, okay, that's possible.
PF was onto something years ago. Dude, we were like 50 points away from having an actual...
I think that proves too much. Negative utilitarianism is the idea that the world would be better if all life, all suffering was eliminated, is a consistent belief. Okay, well, let them, you know, go be negative utilitarians. Good luck.
Actual conversation.
Let us know when you're all dead.
You know? Leaving aside the whole, like, disingenuous, not actually caring about birth rates, but wanting the white ethno-state thing. Like, the obvious, problem with that. Like, when people like him talk about birth rates or, like, mandating increases in birth rates, they basically mean camps. Or like, you know, like an ethno-nationalist project. But we were so far from even acknowledging that point in the topic, because he couldn't even talk about, like, what did move the needle, you know? I think when I think about, like, how to solve this, child rearing should be considered an act of civil service because it objectively is. It used to be. When humans lived in villages and tribal communities, the people who would dedicate most of their time to raising the kids, that was like a job. It wasn't like a job in the sense that you got paid for it necessarily, but it was respected and valued as like a contribution to society, you know? And it takes a lot of work. It's literally like the most valuable work there is, right? It's very, very important. And it's...
Being a mom is the hard... Just kidding. It is a lot of work to rear a child, to do child rearing, by the way. Sorry.
It's always been... It's just really weird that in the modern day, child rearing is not considered a civil service. At all. At all. Not even a little bit. Like, if you have kids, it's like a, well, that's a nice lifestyle choice you did. You know? Unironically, neoliberalism salt to an extent. There are like older trends pulling on it, but like it's a component. There's like a concurrent, you know, a concurrent force there. Remember when we read that article on Russian fertility camps? Why? Yeah, I do remember. What does that have to do with what I'm talking about?
Poor Vaush.
For most of human history, we regarded child rearing as a kind of civil service. We probably should do that in the future, you know? Weird mentality a little bit when you think about it. Like, you have a town, let's say, with 1,000 people, and then there's like 50 or like 100 little kids in the town.
Woo!
And every parent's like, I'm gonna make it so my kid gets the things the other kids don't. They're gonna compete and win. It's like, I don't know, shouldn't all the kids be like raised to be chill dudes?
No.
A little bit?
No.
Like I don't know. Like, can you imagine if they
No
were
chill
doing that
dudes.
back in the tribes? Vaush, that sounds really Brave New Worldish. That's because you're incapable of critical thinking.
Oh,
but
no.
watch a few more streams, pump that white name up to a yellow one, and we'll see. We'll see what happens to your brain. But can you imagine if we did that back in like tribal societies? Like, you have a tribe of a few hundred, and you've got a group of kids with the tribe, and then people are like, yeah, rather than like collectively raising the kids for the good of the tribe, we're gonna like teach every individual kid like a bunch of, you know, like specific competitive values or whatever. Like, yeah, we're trying to like meritocracy the children or something, rather than thinking of them as like like members of society. Because they're members of society. They're just like stupid and little.
True.
Because they're kids. But they're still members of society.
Barely.
It's like we're projecting a lot of like weird individualism onto them when I feel like stuff like that should be their choice to make when they're old enough to really reconcile with it. When a kid is being raised by their parents, they're not old enough to understand how the piano lessons they're being forced to take are actually part of this like scheme on the parents' end to make them more college ready or more competitive or more like acclaimed than other children, or they're trying to like make up for the fact that the parents always wanted to be good with the piano but couldn't be, so now they're raising the kid to be like a facsimile for the, you know, the parents' desires. You know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah, living vicariously. The important thing to keep in mind is that there are solutions to these problems. Just think a lot of people talk kind of counterproductively about them.
Aww.
Hell of a stun lock? It's not a stun lock. It's an important topic. It's also, like very much like climate change. It's very much like it's an extremely important topic that will get talked about more and more and more as the problems with the problem, as the problem makes itself more evident. And I don't want fascists to be the only ones talking about it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be bad?
That would be bad. That's true. That's kind of happened with a lot of topics.
Because eventually it's going to be like, okay, like for example, the birth rate crisis is, to my understanding, acknowledged in Japan and Korea, and they don't treat it as politically polarized. Like, you don't have to be a conservative in Korea to go like, yeah, the birth rate being below 1 is probably a big deal, right? They acknowledge that it's just a problem, not like a weird Nazi conspiracy theory, because it's obviously a problem over there, you know?
It's got to be so fucking annoying. I guess you guys do it to me too about billionaires and wealth, where every time you talk about a certain problem, if Nazis talk about this problem a lot, you literally just can't talk about it without your audience losing their fucking minds over it. Jesus.
So I'm just saying, like, we should probably have answers to this that go beyond like build a white ethno state or camps. You know, I'm just.
What's wrong with population decline? There's 8 billion people. It's not like we're going extinct. There's a couple of like logistics problems, and there's a couple of philosophical problems. So the logistic problem is that it seems like the world capitalist order seems to require an increasing population to some extent in order to continue demand for services and all that bullshit. That's just like what our economic models, I think, are built on. Our fiscal models, to some extent, are built on it as well. Fiscal meaning government budgets, that we tend to budget for like old people's survival and stuff. Based on the idea that there's going to be a new young population to take care of them. And then there's like philosophical issues relating to, well, if you aren't going to reproduce a ton and have more kids, other people are going to. So some people get mad when you talk about like the great replacement. They're talking about that there are like, or that's one aspect of it, that only certain people in society are reproducing a ton. And that's going to lead to, you know, a different looking world. What do you always like 7? We'll do 7. Yeah, we'll do 7. And then you have like really far-reaching things of like what happens if humanity goes extinct, right? And that's a weird one to consider. Do we have an obligation to repopulate the planet so that we don't actually lose every single human being?
I'm just trying to offer you guys an understanding of the subject that's better than, well, I don't believe in humans existing anyway, or camps. Because right now it seems like we got kind of two evil castles.
I don't like this new song. Is this a new one for his channel? I don't like it, whatever it is. How bad do you think AI job displacement will be in the near future? I was going to do law school, but I legitimately don't know if lawyers will exist in 10 years. 60% of the labor force are knowledge workers. I wouldn't even worry about it. It's kind of a catastrophic doomsday scenario if you think about like general intelligence, but we're not there yet, and I still don't think we're that close yet, so I would just keep operating as though it's not going to be here for a while, so...